they're still dishing out warnings and penalties.
Lewis, the car is bad, we know. Please drive it.
This is Paddock 43, the podcast, your weekly rundown giving you all things F1 from both on and off the track.
From races, trades, rumours, the lifestyle, and all the things that come with the F1 world.
We are Amy, Elle, and Pat. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to Paddock.
Paddock 43 is our name.
Yes, welcome back to Paddock 43. How was everyone's weekend?
My weekend was lovely. I actually, besides watching the sprint shootout and getting up at 5:30 this morning before work to watch the race, I went truffle hunting.
Truffle hunting's fun.
Delicious.
It was delicious. It was followed by a 3-course meal based on truffles.
I hate truffle.
Well, then it's not for you. So, Pat, your weekend then.
Lovely. My weekend was good. She was busy. She was a busy weekend. I feel like this whole new sprint structure is just
It's
a lot.
overwhelming.
It's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I was nursing a migraine this morning. So, it's just the weekend got to me. It was so cold. Melbourne, why are you like this? Why do we live here?
Just like, be
It's
like
not
Saint
nice.
Tropez or something.
Yeah.
Something nice and
Yeah.
hot.
But Amy, how was your weekend?
Mine was fab. I have pinched a nerve in my back, so that is always fun.
Oh,
So, yeah, I've been watching the races with a heat pack, like stretched up my back and onto my neck. So that's
You
fun.
know what you both need? So you
Yeah,
both have
I'm the same,
sore
actually.
necks. You need to start training like an F1 driver.
I know. We do.
You know how they do the neck exercises?
Oh my God, we
They go,
should. I actually think it would
Yes.
snap my neck in half.
Yeah, that was something I forgot to add. But yes, Amy and I are. I think you're worse than
We're
me, though.
cripples.
Yeah, we're both cripples.
We're
Do you know we
cripples.
must have gotten too excited over
I
the
know.
weekend? Like,
Yeah, speaking of Austria, it was jam-packed. I love Austria. I think it's a
Huge.
fantastic race.
Well,
fantastic.
I think we should get into it.
I think we should. So let's get into it.
What a race.
What a weekend.
What a weekend. Yeah. I mean, what a sprint shootout.
A little bit of everything.
I got confused for a little bit. I forgot that they changed the format. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, there's a sprint shootout as well. Feels like we're in Texas. Sprint
Pew. Bless. I know it was
Well,
confusing.
Austria was just an amazing course. And I reckon standing one of the best F1 races this year. And
100%.
I think one of the best
Good.
weekends all year.
good looking because Austria is now locked until 2030 as well, which is very exciting.
Yes.
We love that. That is a huge extension. That's a big one.
Thank God that it has been locked in until 2030 because what a weekend. What did it not offer in terms of everything? It
was
blew
so
my mind.
good.
It was chaotic.
Chaotic in the best way.
Yeah, chaotic in the best way.
I mean, we started with a bit of rain as well.
Yeah. I find it interesting that a lot of people say they don't like Austria. And I'm like, I think it is the most
great.
fascinating track.
yeah.
Like the high speeds, the corners, the elevation changes.
The elevation, yeah.
It's like it just puts so much more on the drivers.
It was full on.
And also our predictions. We all said we wanted to see Ferrari in the podium. I mean, we knew Max
We
was
love
coming.
that. Yeah.
We knew.
Go Charles.
But go Charles. But I think we need to chat about qualifying.
I know.
Yes.
How funny our group chat when we were all watching it. Amy and I were slightly pissed.
Yes, I was at the football drinking wine.
I was in bed. I was tucked up. I was ready to go to sleep.
Okay, well, talking about qualifying, of course, we saw Max Verstappen on pole for the fourth time this season.
Surprise,
Is there any
surprise.
surprises? No.
No. Just met with silence because you're like,
Absolute
let's just watch the back of the
silence.
grid now.
Exactly. We
Yeah.
know that whatever happens from second onwards is what's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. And Perez not making it into Q3 for the third time this season.
Yeah,
Fourth
Christian
time
Horner
this
was
season.
not happy about
No.
that.
He was not a happy chappy
No.
at all.
Thank God he redeemed himself
He
in
did.
the sprints.
But I think the real issue with qualifying was white lines.
Ooh, those white lines, they got
Those
them.
little tricky bastards.
It's amazing how they just go like a millimeter off.
Yeah.
And it's like, nope, sorry. Lap deleted. Goodbye.
A total of 47 of them.
Eject.
47 lap deletions.
Insane.
Just
Mm.
absolutely insane.
Insane.
Yeah, I also loved watching Alex Albon get himself out of the bottom five on his last flying lap.
Yeah, he did fantastic. Oh, actually, in McLaren, they did well.
Yeah, McLaren did very well. Lando Norris had a lot of pace, which was good. The upgrades to his car.
Yeah, they're
It's
showing.
fantastic to see.
Also, I loved just watching Lando in the post-quali interview.
I didn't see that. What happened?
He was just quite cocky, and then he was saying, he was talking about the Red Bulls complaining, and they're like, "Oh, what? They're winning!" Like
I think just because everyone knows, everyone's just getting a little bit like, yeah,
salty.
Red Bull.
But yeah.
Well, round of applause to Haas. I think Gunter was honestly just like sweating in his pants of excitement and also nerves. The fact that Nico Hülkenberg started 4th on the grid.
Little wet pant.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean like sweat, but okay.
Is that sweat or is it raining?
Who knows? And then he finished 6th. And how good. They finally got points.
We love that for Haas.
We love a little moment where they go.
Woo!
What were
Where they
some of
go
the other
well.
highlights from the sprint shootout this week, Amy?
I loved watching Carlos come into the pits and only coming out in the last 2 minutes to just put in one flying lap and he was done. It was great. It was fantastic.
Just flying in
solid
and out.
effort, Carlos. Can you please say Carlos?
Carlos.
Mm. Also, I got very dizzy watching the names, jump up and down because
There was so much
because
going
it's
on.
such a fast track. It was just like vroom, vroom, vroom. And I was like, oh my God.
It's
And then
so
I was like,
quick.
deleted. And everyone was
Yeah.
flying up.
I could not keep up with how many deletions there were. And
No.
then, Lewis got knocked out in Q3, and that was his first knockout in Q3. Q3, sprint out 1, whatever you want to call it, since Saudi last year. And before that, he'd not been knocked out in 5 years from Q3.
It's a shock to the ego.
I'm sure
Very big
Toto
shock.
was happy.
I mean, he was knocked out in Q2 in Miami, but at least he made it to Q2.
He
yeah,
didn't make it this
didn't make it.
You can see why he was salty for the rest of the weekend, though. And then the fight between Checo and Max. That
Yeah.
was
Mm.
great.
I feel like this is my little analogy.
Go on.
So you know how in a relationship there's always someone that compromises too much. They compromise and they give themselves up for the other person. And I feel like Checo's that person. And now he's just I don't like this anymore.
Agree.
I'm fighting back.
Yeah.
We saw that
don't
fight
know.
this weekend.
I feel like that's the same as Charles and Carlos too.
Yeah. I mean, I have some views on that, but
What are those views?
no, well, I was thinking about it this weekend. We all know I love Carlos and Charles, but I actually think that, and especially kind of looking at the results this weekend and looking at the results last year at Austria, I actually think that Charles is just a bit of a stronger driver. And yeah, it's times like this weekend where it shows.
I feel like Carlos has his moments, but Charles is more consistent.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes I think, hey, it's fine. I'm half South American, half European, but sometimes I think Carlos's emotions get the best of him.
Those European emotions.
Yeah.
Spicy.
During the race when he was getting I will come back to that, but when he was getting really frustrated with Perez.
Well, there's a lot
Yeah.
of frustration.
Especially at this level, you should be able to put your emotions aside and
Mm.
really hone in on the task at hand.
Which I think also is one of those things that really adds to Verstappen's. He's just the full package.
Because he just gets the job done.
He gets it done.
He's so calm and just,
logical.
yeah.
Even in his post-race interview with Checo,
Yeah.
they were all asking about the fight and sprint between him and Checo. And Max was just like, this doesn't need to be a story.
Yeah.
It is what it is. We're humans. We discussed it. We've moved on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was like, do you just want this for the clickbait?
Yeah.
Then okay, go for it.
Poor journalist just trying to do his job.
Yeah.
But then also the journalist then kept
Yeah,
asking,
yeah.
and then they're like, Checo, what do you think of that? And he's like, you can turn this into an article. Just making fun. I'm like,
Brilliant.
it would be so fun messing with the media that way. But
Oh, for sure.
I think it would. I also had, so another thing on sprint qualifying.
Mm.
So I get that it adds so much excitement to the weekend, but then I wonder, because you can kind of tell with the drivers that they're sort of when they have interviews about it, they're all a bit oh yeah, it's good. But even Lando said, I think it was after, I can't remember if it was after the shootout or the sprint race, that every race means so much more. So every time they're on the track, it means so much more than it would in a free practice. And it's I wonder how exhausting it is for them to then go out 3 times prepping for a race, 4 times. Well, if you count qualifying, because you're actually kind of really trying to put in the pace. Yeah, I just wonder how much, like how hard it is for them to be able to do that and how exhausting it is. Because I know like when I used to compete, it was like, imagine if they were like, okay, so you've got your main race here and we're just going to put this in here for the fans and you can just like, you don't have to jump as high, but you just have to like jump like this.
But also high.
Like you've got to do it well, but then you've also got to concentrate on the main event in a few days.
Yeah.
Well, in the next day.
The exertion on their bodies would be insane. And that's when they're doing those next exercises that you guys need to do.
Yeah, we needed to.
If anyone's looking.
I mean, I think it's a way for them. I get it and I agree. But then also, especially for someone like Verstappen, he's just like, another thing to add to my repertoire.
He got another point.
Yes, Max. Yeah, he got another
1 point.
But I think it's a way that, because sometimes you'll see some drivers do incredible in practice, but they're not rewarded for it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a way that drivers that maybe do better a few days before.
Yeah, maybe.
Or maybe the pressure gets to
That's
them on
good.
race day and also the teams. It's a shorter race as well. So,
I will say though, how good was that time difference here in Australia?
oh my gosh.
Watching the sprint shootout,
Mm.
8:30 at night.
Well, yeah, I was at the football.
You were
Yeah.
at the footy.
I was out. So, yeah.
You were out. I was
But
in
it was
bed,
great.
It was great.
Mm.
Love being my
that's-
nana on a Saturday night
Yeah.
watching it. So it did provide it for, the rest of the world that's not in Europe. It
Yeah.
gave them an opportunity to feel like they're a little bit more involved in live time. What a race. Pat, you look very happy to the left of me. Ferrari's 800th podium, which
She's
is
happy. She's
That's
very
a lot
happy.
of podiums.
That's a lot of podiums. And then, we had Checo coming up 15th, third.
So good.
And then all those penalties. It was like
Wait.
Oprah was like, you get a penalty, you get a penalty, you get a penalty.
Camera.
I think I hit the camera.
Knock out the camera.
Woo. Anyway,
But also, sorry, circling back to Sergio, last week, we had some interesting opinions about him and about his seat. And I think his results in the quali this weekend, at one point I was like, oh God, is this like a Pierre Gasly circa 2018 happening again? But then he really redeemed himself.
he really did. He just proved how fast that car is.
Yeah.
He was so good. And as you were telling us earlier, Amy, like, you thought he should be getting driver of the day.
Yes, no, I agree. I think Sergio could have got driver of the day. I think Lando had a phenomenal drive. What was it, with their upgrades of the new car? He's really settled in. He's driving well. He seems confident, which is nice because I feel like his confidence sort of dropped for quite a while. But then, seeing Sergio go from the back of the grid was great because, so many people were like, is Checo done? We were kind of saying that, last week. Like, do we think he's just done with the sport? But I guess not.
He proved himself.
Mm.
It's like, Christian, please, I'm good.
Well, Christian even came out and said he's not. There's no chance of him moving. So
Yeah.
that'll be an interesting one. I think, speaking of Checo, we need to talk about when, Lewis obviously was getting a little bit frustrated on the weekend. He was out in the sprint shootout and, he looked like he almost had given up and was just like, stuff this. I'm going. But he just kept dobbing everyone in. And he was so angry about Checo not getting a penalty. He was like, has he got his penalty yet? Has he got his penalty yet? I couldn't keep up with what was happening on the screen sometimes because I was like, oh, yep, they've got a checkered flag. Oh, yep, there's another one. I mean, Yuki didn't even serve his penalty correctly, so he got another
That's
penalty.
right.
I mean, we have our phones in front of us for a reason because we're genuinely thinking that more penalties may be given at this point.
Insane amount of penalties. So I actually have a list of the penalties here. So Carlos got 2. That's 10-second time penalty in total. Lewis got 2. So he got 10 seconds. Alex Albon got 2, 10 seconds. Esteban, he got 2 times 10-second penalties and 2 times 5-second penalties.
Ouch. 30 seconds in total for Ocon.
Logan, 10-second time penalty. Nick, 10-second time penalty and 5-second time penalty. And Yuki, well, you know what? It says 5-second time penalty here, but he actually got 3. So it just did not stop coming. It was raining
Congratulations,
penalties.
Charles. Not only were you on the podium, but you also did not get a penalty.
Max and Lando And Charles.
Yeah.
No penalty.
Yeah. Well, a lot of that,
3 kings.
a lot of those penalties were happening around turn 10, so it was causing a lot of little shaky moments there. I mean, it was clear to Toto that Lewis was trying to obviously get an edge because his car was not working properly. They were, kept saying his brakes. He was not braking properly. No one ever came out and said that there's something wrong with the car, and he never pitted for that moment. But even Toto came out and was like, Lewis, we know the car is slow.
Just drive.
Just drive.
Yeah. Do what
Just
you can.
Shut the F up and just go. Like, you're not
just
going to
drive.
you're not going to get another penalty here. Anyway.
And how about, I mean, I found this fascinating. Actually, 2 things. First off, we need to speak about Verstappen winning fastest lap, but his process of getting there.
Well, I was, secretly a little bit glad that he didn't get his 250th consecutive leading lap.
thought you'd be happy with that, because he lost that.
Yeah, he
held
lost it at 249.
Oofed.
Yeah, I was pretty, pretty chuffed.
He-
I don't know.
he
It was
led-
just nice to see him fight.
So he led
Yeah.
from the 45th lap in Miami to, lap 25 in Austria.
I mean, it's impressive. And if I was that good at anything,
I would have been
I'd
filthy.
love to consider where I'd be today. If I was that good.
Where would I be?
What would I be
need a
doing?
6'2" Formula One driver, but very impressive.
Super impressive. Lap 69, the team were telling him, don't box. And he was saying, no, we're doing it, which is just insane how in tune he is. Yeah, he was like, oh, we've got 24 seconds. Like, absolutely.
And they could have probably taken like a 3-second.
Yeah, they could
Yeah.
have. They could have. I think it ended up being
It was something
Standard
like
2.3.
2.3. Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
some great pit stops.
And
did.
it was such a quick pit stop, and then he won fastest lap on
I
his last
know.
lap. Like, calm
fantastic.
your
So
farm.
interesting.
Like, stop being so good. This is why we like the back
Just
of the
trying to
grid.
show everyone up.
I know he's trying to show.
Of course.
I mean, he's winning. I think it's 81 points in front of everyone.
everyone.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but even Christian came out and said, he was like, what did he say? No risk, no fun.
Yeah, he's
Like,
not wrong. He's not wrong.
I love it.
But I was actually quite excited. Lap 59, Sainz was coming third. I honestly would have sobbed if I'd seen both Ferraris on the podium. But anyway, and that battle between Perez and Sainz. And then it was interesting because Perez at one point overtook Sainz right before the DRS zone. And he was being criticised because they said, had Verstappen done this, like Verstappen would know, yes, we're comparing Gabby, Verstappen would have known, hey, it's not the right time to overtake, because why would I overtake right before a DRS zone? Because that he overtook Sainz, obviously got the DRS, pushed back forward, and then eventually Perez took over again. But just interesting.
I mean, we wanted to see some battles.
We did.
so-
Oh, we saw some
There were
battles.
some
We called that
battles.
one. I mean, we nearly called. Well, I can't blame you guys. Someone being sick, and we did miss check
Yeah.
on media
Oh my
day.
God,
and
very
got very
true.
excited who was coming in there. But speaking of Ferrari, 3-stop strategy, middle of the race.
Oh my God.
Charles was like, no.
absolutely not.
How can you come in the middle of the race? Oh, actually, we're going to change our strategy. Like nothing. The weather
I
hadn't
think
changed at that
I
point.
could
There was
put a better
nothing.
strategy
It was just. I mean, obviously they did well.
Yeah.
They did get a couple of penalties, but then who didn't get a penalty?
But I feel like they're doing well when they kind of fight back and don't do what the pit wall is saying.
Yeah, I agree. But sometimes there's so much, no disrespect to the pit wall.
Yes,
But
that's all.
sometimes I think the drivers are a lot more in tune and seeing what happens behind the Ferrari.
Like they're out there, they're feeling it.
Yeah.
They know what's happening.
Yeah, so Sainz was then saying like, he's intimidating me about Perez. And Carlos, mi amor, I love you. But that's what he's supposed to do. He's supposed to intimidate you. Like he's cracking it. Like, baby, calm down. You need to calm down.
Baby, come back to me.
It's almost like they forget what sport they're in.
My friend is being mean.
He's trying to overtake me. That's the whole point. That's called a race.
Yeah.
People overtake
He's
you.
intimidating me. Yes, he is. And as he should.
But also sometimes for like a sport that they forget that they're doing, they do some of the dumbest things sometimes. Like, okay, back to Yuki. I'm really sorry.
Oh,
The poor
no.
guy definitely got worst driver of the day. But like turn one, what was he doing? Where was he going? And then he had to change his front right away. Like, I'm sorry. And then all those penalties. But then, yes, he didn't serve his penalty right. I'm really frustrated about Yuki.
I'm like, there is so much passion going
she's
into
angry.
my ears right now.
She's angry.
You know, we spoke so highly of Yuki last week, but mostly because of Pierre and their relationship. So maybe that's coming from Pierre. But the team, I'm sorry, do they not know how to count to 5? Like, okay,
Fun.
that penalty cannot be on Yuki. Surely that's a team penalty.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's the one that cops it.
Yeah.
Did they let him go early?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then he had to do another
They
one.
had one job.
He has to put the trust into the team for that.
Yes.
That's not his.
Yeah, it's not his doing.
Yeah.
It's the team's doing.
They don't give team penalties, do they? Or do they fine them?
I mean, I guess
wonder
it's
if
the
they should
team
get
as
a
a whole.
fine rather
Yeah.
than Yuki.
Well, he got the anyway. Something has to be looked at in Austria. I mean, I respect that you have to stay within the lines and you get all those penalties and all of that, and there is a reason for that. A lot of that is to do with safety.
Yeah.
But it was ridiculous of how many came out. And is that the track? Is it the cars? What is it? I think something needs to be looked into that one.
I mean, the other thing I will say, and that is said, is like if they slow down, they can stay within the track lines and the track limits. Like it is possible. They're all, most of them anyway, are skilled enough to know and to understand. And it just happened. I think they all get a bit excited, a bit cocky. and-
Less than half the field was able to stay
Yeah.
within the track line.
Well,
so I
even
think
Max,
it's possible.
even Max said he was like, it's hard to stay within the track limits. I was like, is it really that hard? Look at us.
Yeah.
Is it really that
Is it
hard?
really
really-
that hard? I wouldn't know.
Just 3
I think
fans
it
over
looks
here.
easy.
Yeah.
Very good. Austria, what a race.
Fantastic. We can't
What
wait.
a race. I will definitely be
Next year.
rewatching that one, and I can't wait for it to continue until 2030. So
Whoop, whoop.
bring on
How
Austria.
old will we be?
Let's
old
not
are we?
Let's not talk
Yeah.
about that. All right, let's move on to our next segment.
Just speaking about the weekend, something that we do need to speak about, Dylan Van Toff. He was 18 years old, and he lost his life this weekend. Yeah, horrific. 49th driver to actually lose their life at Spa. I know there was like a lot of conversation about it and about how can this happen again? What is the issue with Spa? And I think the FIA are obviously really investigating this, but yeah, it's just horrific and really sad. And our thoughts and prayers goes to the family.
Lots of love and prayers.
I want to say that it was Max that said this, but I may be wrong. He came out and said, it does need to be looked into by the FIA that these young drivers, they feel like they've got something to prove. So they do go that extra mile and they go all out, and that they're not going to tell themselves to stop.
Yeah.
So someone else needs to come in and tell them to stop. And that's also, it's awful. It's awful what happened.
Because they're also,
And-
they're still kids. Like 18, you're still a baby.
Baby, it's
Yeah.
sad.
I
I
remember
think-
when I was 18, but I don't want to get into that. But, it's awful what happened. And it was great to see so many tributes flow in
Yeah,
throughout the weekend.
as it should be.
Yeah. Because it was only 4 years ago that we lost another driver, basically on the same corner in F2.
Yeah, Antoine.
Antoine.
Same spot.
Yeah.
I think, they kind of need to look at, and especially going into Monza in a couple of weeks, similar thing when it's wet, when the cars are spraying a lot, when visibility is down. I think it's one of those things where, you look back in hindsight and think, could have done this. But I think they really need to. It's tricky because, even last week we were like, we hope for some rain. Everyone wants rain because it provides a lot more entertainment. But then at the same time, it's when things like this happen. And I always do think as well is, thankfully, we haven't seen any deaths in F1 for a long time because the car is virtually indestructible. And obviously not enough money goes into, if it trickles down into F2, F3, F4, there's not that much money going into the cars. So obviously the cars aren't as sturdy. It's really sad. And
I really hope the driver that was also involved in the incident that he's been looked after.
yeah,
Like, I can't imagine what he would be going through right now. So I really hope he's been
Agreed.
There was some big news across the weekend. We also found out that Bob Fernley had passed away, and excuse the pun, but he was a driving force within Formula One and the motorsport industry for that matter. So for anyone that doesn't know, he was a former Force India boss. And just a little touch on what his career entailed was that when he left school, he actually became a car dealer, and he was buying and selling F1 cars, which was quite interesting. And then in 2007, when Vijay Malaya, sorry if I've pronounced that wrong, bought Spiker F1 team, he was asked Fernley if he could help him run it under Force India banner in 2008. So, you know, that team had many successes, and they were renowned for punching above their weight for many years and delivering some performances and results within like a very small budget that they had, but it was still a budget. You know, they definitely had a Perez winning podium there in 2018, which is also very exciting. And when, I'll let Pat say this,
Stefano Domenicali.
she's just so nice when she talks.
Love it.
Moved on from the Ferrari team principal seat, and was named the president and CEO of F1. Fernley then stepped up to a single-seater commission in 2020. So it was, you know, quite an interesting career that he had within the motorsport. And then, of course, Lawrence Stroll came in 2018 and bought that team and changed it to the team that we see today. So, you know, as I said before, no pun intended, but was a huge driving force within Formula One and someone to be remembered of, you know, that's built a very prominent team. And a lot of the engineers in the Aston team today are the ones that he created, he built up. So
It's really sad when you kind of see like icons of the sport pass away.
Yeah.
And it's like just like reliving their legacy and like seeing what they've done throughout the years and what they've contributed to the sport. So
But it's special
yeah,
as
it's
well.
it's very special.
Especially when you think of all the footage that you get of them. And,
I love all that old school footage.
in other not
In
too
other-
exciting, in other not too
Well, I have
exciting
something semi-exciting.
Oh, because my one was not going to be that exciting as
No,
well.
it's not
So what's
sad.
yours?
But no, it was exciting. It was just sad. But congratulations to Kevin Magnussen, 150 races.
Go K-Mag.
With how many wins?
One
Oh.
podium. No, but yeah, I mean, I think it's a great achievement. I think that me personally, I'm loving seeing him back in the sport this year. Also slightly, I don't want to say depressing, but I think he's about 6 months older than me. And he has achieved a lot. So
All of these guys have achieved so much. It's insane.
yeah, but yeah, so the one time that he actually did have a podium was in Australia in 2014. So yeah, in a McLaren.
I don't know if it's news because, yeah, we spoke about it a little bit last week, but just talking about Nick de Vries. Yes, but there has been rumours that he will lose his seat if he doesn't perform in the next, I guess it's 3 weeks now because they had 4 weeks and Austria has just been. Although Christian Horner did come out and shut them down, but Ted Kravitz has heard otherwise. So I just wonder, I always think when there's smoke, there's fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like there has to be
Hearing
coming
all
from
this
somewhere.
This time last year about Daniel Ricciardo,
Yes.
and everyone was like, "It's not true. It's not true."
Yes.
And then it happened. So
And also when there were rumblings about Pierre Gasly
Yeah.
and then Alex Albon came in.
There's rumblings for a reason.
Yeah, and many a times has Christian Horner shut things down and then.
He's very good at shutting everything down and then he's like, haha, plot twist. Like I said before, reverse Uno.
I mean, one other little bit of funny information that, well, it wasn't really funny information. It was just a funny clip was at Austria. Obviously, there was a lot of daredeviling happening, extreme
yes.
sports. We saw bungee jumping, and then I don't even know what you call.
They really want
That
to
other
prove
thing
that
that we
Red Bull
saw.
gives you wings.
Yeah, well, the guy clearly doesn't have wings
Yeah.
because he
He
fell from the
crashed.
sky. What was he on?
we need to get a clip of that up of that guy that was on
Yeah.
his little rocket and then
Yeah,
just
it was like a jetpack.
Yeah,
and then he
jetpack,
crashed. I
jetpack.
mean, thankfully, he's safe. I just
But the
touched wood
fact
if
they
anyone was
had-
asking.
Bungee jumping at the Formula One.
The best was Oscar Piastri just being like, what's that?
but I think that's also one of the amazing things about Austria is seeing like Red Bull really put on a show, the planes, everything. And we knew that was coming. And something we spoke about last week, we know that Amy would have been happy because the flares were banned, although
And they were back. They were back.
they were back.
They were
I don't think
there.
you'll ever ban them from
They're
there.
back. But then I guess how can you find the person that's setting them off?
yeah, exactly.
You can't. You will never be able to stop them, especially in Austria. I just love how picturesque it is.
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
beautiful.
beautiful. The track and then the mountains.
Oh, it's stunning.
Also, just quickly, the gap between Alonso and Lance is the biggest gap in the field at the moment. And I heard some things, some outrageous rumors.
Mm.
Probably not even rumors. This is probably someone just writing an article because
We love a bit of clickbait.
they can write an article. They mentioned about Charles going to Aston Martin.
No, sorry, I just really had to shut
Why
that
would
down.
you bring that information into
I
such
just
a
thought it was
Ferrari
quite.
loving girls
I know. I
environment
love
here?
Ferrari too, and
You don't want to break Pat's heart right now.
we all know Charles will stay with Ferrari, but it was just quite funny how certain this person was. He was
Yeah.
like, nope, he's going to Aston Martin, like that, because Lawrence Stroll he actually only owns 20% of Aston Martin, and because apparently they're not, like, their stocks are dropping, I've heard, so they want a young, good driver that will have a higher return on investment, and if they got rid of Lance, there's less likely to be a lawsuit
Oh.
because he's sacking his own son.
Well, then that's why they were also, the rumor was that Daniel Ricciardo could take that seat.
Mm.
And that was the interesting one because Daniel Ricciardo was the best friend of Scotty James, who is brother-in-law to Lance.
Yeah. Ooh,
I
messy.
can't wait till we listen back to this in 6 months.
I
and
know. Well, look, it's
know exactly what's
silly
happening.
season is upon us, so it's all going to be coming out.
Indeed.
The British Grand Prix is on Silverstone.
Woohoo!
So quite the spectacle Silverstone it is. It actually is where the Formula One started, if anyone didn't know that.
And we have 2 home races, McLaren, Aston Martin.
So a little bit about Silverstone, just for any new listeners out there. The circuit length is 5.8 kilometres and it's 52 laps. And it's a race distance of 306 kilometres, which is hella long. And the lap record is actually held by, yep, you guessed it, Max Verstappen, 2020 for 1:27. I would like someone to beat that this year. That would be nice. It's actually Lewis's home race as well, and he's been on that podium 13 times. And we should note that this is an all-time record at a single venue for any driver.
Oh,
I
wow.
must say I love seeing Lewis win at Silverstone. I think it's so special.
Well, last year it was Carlos's first win
It was. I was about to say,
Yay.
Carlos.
on his 150th Grand Prix as well.
I know. How lucky.
That was very exciting.
Yeah.
So.
Also,
Gosh, sorry to interrupt. It just makes me think about how well Ferrari was doing last year. But then it sort of started going downhill in a few weeks' time last year. So hopefully this year we're seeing the opposite. Anyway, ignore me. Keep going.
I was going to say one of the first things that also now comes to mind is last year's crash.
Oh
Joe
my
Guan Yu.
God.
Yeah,
That was terrifying.
that was the most terrifying crash. I think it was one of the worst crashes in like modern F1.
Yeah.
Besides Roman Grosjean.
Do you remember seeing the photo of the road?
Yeah,
afterwards?
it's
Insane.
like a full
And
indent.
yeah, really taking
Mm.
the asphalt.
And also so lucky that nothing happened to any of the stewards.
Yes.
I think that was definitely a moment where the whole F1 community, the whole world looked on and saw the importance of the halo and how important the halo is and the
Yeah, definitely. Because if the halo was not there, like it would have been a totally different outcome.
Very different outcome.
For those that haven't seen the crash, so just after lights out, there was contact between George Russell and Pierre Gasly, and then the Mercedes then spun into Joe Guan Yu. Joe's car then flipped over and just like skidded across the track into the gravel and straight into the barriers at high speed, and then flipped when it hit the tyre wall as well.
Yeah.
Bounced over the tyre barrier, became lodged between the barrier and the circuit's catch fencing. So I can't imagine what it would also be like for Joe going back to this track.
Oh my gosh, I know.
Oh, that'd be, just full PTSD.
I think that they work with some of the best medics on all levels in the world, and he's probably
I mean, the best is
Yeah.
involved in the sport, and that's what
Yeah.
we'd also expect.
Well, they always, I'm pretty sure the drivers have said that they'd rather crash in a Formula One car than in a regular road car.
just never want to crash.
Yep. Okay.
Touch wood, I don't. And I mean, hopefully, Piastri, our Aussie man, doesn't have any issues this week. He's got his fancy little upgrades,
Yay.
which will be super exciting. And we do love when an Aussie man gets up. It's actually Silverstone's a winning track for Mark Webber. Yeah, 3 times he's won that.
But also, sorry, I was just going to say, especially after seeing how well Lando did in Austria, his car has had the upgrades and now Oscar's getting them in this weekend.
It'll be good to see if he can also maximize those upgrades.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he'll drive the car at this weekend. It'd be great to see him getting some higher points.
Yeah.
And I think it's, well deserving at this point. He's been doing all right.
He's doing the best out of the rookies.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, definitely.
He's no Nick DeVries. And he's no Yuki at the moment either.
Oh,
So much hate on Yuki.
and Logan Sargent, you guys. I thought he did one good lap in Austria.
One.
One.
One out of
Wait, no, okay,
71.
that was
that was in like qualifying. It was in qualifying. He did do a good lap in qualifying, and I was like, "Go you!"
Well,
Well done, Logan.
We're probably likely to see Max out there.
Yeah. What are
again
we?
this weekend?
Max wasn't on the podium last year, so
No.
he's 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that was due to some car damage.
I think so.
I think it was his floor damage.
And we know what the Red Bull floor is like this year. Everyone wants it.
Well, there's a lot of high-speed corners at this track as well.
That'd be
And
great.
Unpredictable, I should say, weather in Britain, or predictable, if you want to say, it's going to be cold and windy. And it's a very flat track, so there's a lot of wind in there. But it doesn't really make a difference to them. They're going so bloody fast anyway.
Yeah.
I wonder what it's like going from a track like Austria with so many different elevation changes
Yeah.
to then
I actually,
Silverstone.
actually, I forgot to mention that before, and it was something that I'd read that I think that is also part of the reason why there are so many penalties in Austria is because a lot of the time the wind would push the car out. The wind was like, bah, bah.
He's just trying to push me out.
Get
of
out.
Yeah.
The AlphaTauri is going to be renamed in 2024.
Tell us about this new name.
Is it going to be Toro Rosso again?
I don't know. I couldn't find anything on what it's going to be named. They've actually said to be AlphaTauri's running at a brand loss this year, so that's why they're.
Have you seen their clothes? It's horrific.
Yeah, was that stuff?
We're seeing it on the ads.
Yeah.
And we were all saying last week, what are they wearing? Like,
Yeah. Although in saying that,
it's like Hawaiian clothes gone wrong.
although I mean,
Like,
Pierre can make anything look good.
Yeah,
actually, I can't say that I'm wearing a shirt with florals on it.
You're wearing a towel. Jinx.
Just get bleeding here. Anyway.
Put it onto Gunther Steiner. We need to speak about our predictions.
I reckon we're going to see Lewis up on the podium.
Oh, I think Lando on the podium.
Ooh,
Oh, that would be special.
Lando and Lewis would be good up there.
Mm.
And we're not even addressing that Max will probably be number 1.
We don't have to address
No,
him.
okay, so let's talk about 2, 3, and 4.
Well, I'm
That's our new podium, by the way.
yeah, 2, 3, 4.
I've just created for us.
I think that we'll definitely see another Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially Carlos this year because he won last year. I think the fact that Aston Martin isn't having any upgrades for a while, I think they're going to start pushing back, and we're going to see Ferrari push up again. We're going to see McLaren push up. Yeah, I'm thinking Lando as well. Maybe third.
I think third.
Yep.
I'd like to see Piastri in the top 6.
I'd like to see Albon in the top 6. I feel like he's been
also,
driving
actually,
really well.
Yeah, also Russell.
Oh, yeah. It is George's home race.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot
As
of
well.
home
Bit
races
of
this
more
weekend.
motivation for everyone with a home race.
Well, time will tell. It's 12 a.m. this Sunday. I don't know if I will be out. I'll be watching that very early Monday morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice little time difference. Get up early before work again. But we do have practice at 8:30 p.m. on the 8th of July. So, that's not too bad.
I think that's us done for the weekend.
If you can't watch the race this coming weekend, that's all right. We got you.
We've got you.
We got you weekly.
Yes.
That's why we're here.
In your ears.
In
And
your
also,
ears.
we want to keep the conversation going. So if you have any questions, concerns, feedback,
And also, if you're loving the podcast, would love to see you give us a little 5-star rating.
We love a cheeky 5-star.
We love a little 5-star. And we
Like and
also
subscribe, please.
Like and subscribe very much.
So you can find us on TikTok, on Instagram. We have a website coming too, which is paddock43.com. And you can follow us all on Instagram if you like. We'll put our links in the show notes. And yes.
well, thank you for listening, everyone. We hope you have a fantastic week and we will see you next week.
See you next week, guys.
Hopefully our predictions are right.
Yes.
Vroom, vroom.